to go back to those days when working people were living on our estates.
Now, I was sort of cycling around here this morning, and you can almost see the pattern of there must have been a bomb drop there, a bomb drop there, and you get a little row of old Georgian houses, or you get a row of Victorian terraces, or whatever it is, and then you get some modern thing, and then you get a high-rise estate. What's the kind of the state, particularly with a lot of stuff that was built post-war? Is it in good nick, or is it having to be kind of addressed now? Or?
It's having to be addressed. A number have been demolished,
right.
Especially the other end of Watney Market, where when I was a boy, that's where I knew the market was.
Yeah. What, down more towards the river, down towards
the station?
Yeah.
And you know, the old-fashioned Sainsbury's with the counter that went all the way around.
Sainsbury's was on the market, wasn't it?
It was on the market, and that's how I remember it as a boy from like the late 60s, because we lived in a tenement block, 2 rooms, shared toilet on the landing,
yeah.
up until 1968 in Cable Street at the back there. And so where that area was, it's been the blocks have been demolished, and interestingly, the estate that neighbours that. We took over that as a stock transfer from the council, and the reason the residents chose us, they didn't want their block demolished.
Right.
They wanted it refurbished, they wanted the community there to be retained.
Because they're the sort of blocks that a lot of people from outside think of as slums or not working well and all of that, don't they? But perhaps not the same if you live in them.
And not the same if you live in them. On the day that the transfer was announced, the oldest surviving resident there, Pat, was crying.
Oh.
On the basis that they've chosen an association and we'd won the ballot, and that their block was going to be refurbished. And what I like about people come to our different events that have worked here in the past, and they cannot believe how transformed that estate is because of remodelling it and bringing it up to decent home standard. Most of the council stock is currently being brought up to decent home standard. All our housing association stock is already a decent home standard. So I'm quite proud of that.
Now, if I were to go less than half a mile, I guess, kind of just towards the city from here, I'd suddenly be in trendy land, wouldn't I? Everything would be £2 million houses on Fournier Street, and it would be trendy bars and restaurants and all of that sort of stuff.
The trendy bar part is encroaching.
I was going to say, is that an issue around here?
It's helping transform the area.
It's certainly changing the perception of the area, isn't it, among a kind of a wider London community, I guess.
You know what the funniest perception is? I've been brought up in the area and know many people have moved out.
Yeah.
And you talk to them and they say, oh, my kid's gone clubbing down Brick Lane. Like thinking that this is some sort of hellhole.
Well, my mum still thought until the day she died that Notting Hill was a slum. That's where we'd come from. And, you know, when she left it was, you know.
I remember a couple of years ago, I drove my mum down Brick Lane, and now we live in Limehouse, yeah?
Right, yeah.
So I drove her down Brick Lane, not very far, and they were absolutely shocked at how trendy it had become.
Yeah.
And there has been that knock-on effect. Not so much here in Stepney, bit more further north in places like Bethnal Green.
Yeah.
That Shoreditch effect, we call it.
So is that coming out this way, do you
think? It's coming out that way. It hasn't arrived here, but there has been some changes in Watney Market since the redevelopment by the station, the new East London line.
Right.
The effect of that is...
Is that making are you feeling the difference?
I think there is a difference. It's starting to... And more people are knowing it, and the East London line is just a simple thing that they did of reconnecting some old railway lines. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And when the extension opens to Clapham next year, wow, you know.
Well, what I think is certainly happening is more and more people are aware that the East End has an awful lot to offer. I think it has a lot of history, as you've been pointing out today. I mean, you know, you only have to say names like Sydney Street and Cable Street and Valence Road, and suddenly you get all the, you know, these stories compiling on top of each other.
I think, yeah, you picked out some of the big history, but you've mentioned the biggest historical moment in this borough, and that has been the Blitz.
Right.
And, you know, the changing effect it had on here. Across the road where my office is there was a co-op department store.
Right.
And there's a fantastic picture one of our residents gave of where it had been demolished, and you could see the end of the market here. You know, the Blitz had its real effect. That was the biggest historical moment, I would say, in the East.
Are you optimistic about the future of this area? Because we talked quite a lot about its past and its stories. Are you optimistic about the future?
I'm more than I've ever been.
Really?
I wouldn't have thought that we would have seen the changes we've seen in the last 20 years here. My ambition, amongst many others, is to make sure that if the area is changing, it's locals that don't lose out with it, and to make sure that we take advantage of it for local people.
Mike, it's been a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Thank you, Robert.
I'm sorry you got cut off in your prime earlier on, but hopefully we've made up for it. Mike Tyrrell, thank you very, very much.